The following is a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed during the program are solely that of Jung Garden Center, not WBEV 95X or Good Karma Brands. And we welcome in once again the garden doctor, Dick Zondag from Jung Garden Center in Randolph. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, John.
How are you doing today on this sunny day?
Yeah, it is sunny out. A change.
Nice change indeed. By the way, we are on Daily Dodge TV as well, if you want to check out the video. I don't know if you've been hearing the discussion we've been having during break time in the morning show.
Yes, I
about
have.
about the dilemma with these woodchucks trying to get into the transmitter.
Yeah.
Burrowing holes near the transmitting tower. Do you have any words of wisdom to impart?
Well, there are some repellents. There are some different things that you can do. The live trap, of course, works really well with you. Put carrots or some kind of leafy vegetable in there. Mm-hmm. They tend to go for that, and then you got to take them a long ways away. But yeah, it's a real problem if you get a family of groundhogs or woodchucks in your vicinity. So, not going to say shotgun, but
okay, very good. Very
whatever.
Good. What now? Do you have anything for the boys and girls to see on Daily Dodge TV this morning?
Well, I didn't bring anything to hide behind, but I did bring some of the things that you should be thinking about now because. With this warmer weather, the ground is starting to thaw. In fact, I think most of the frost is out of the ground now. We'll get a few nice warm days where we don't get rain. It'll be time to start planting. And some of the hardy vegetables that you can put in the garden right away. I brought some examples of onion sets, yellow, white, and red. And the onion sets are mainly used for the green onions, where you plant them real thick and you thin them out. You can leave some in for fall harvest, but they give you that flat, round onion that's usually pretty sharp and actually stores really well. And then I brought a few of the onion plants that you plant in the garden where you space them 4 to 6 inches apart, and those are the ones that you use for late fall harvest. And depending on the variety, if you're using the Patterson hybrid, that's a very good storing onion, but some of the whites and the reds don't store as well, so those you use right away. I also brought some potatoes along, time to start thinking about getting those potatoes cut up because you want to get the potatoes cut so that they get that callus tissue over the cut surface, and that way when you throw that piece in the ground, it's not going to rot right away, where if you cut it and throw it in the ground and we get cold, wet weather, because the potato piece is just a big piece of starch, the microorganisms in the soil start rotting it right away. So you get those potatoes cut now, and you should let them sit out for a week to 10 days so they get that cut that callus tissue over the cut surface, and then when you throw them in the ground, they should come up right away. The other thing I was going to bring along, but I didn't, is asparagus. That's another one of the hardy vegetables, and asparagus root looks like a crown with a bunch of roots coming sort of horizontally out of that crown. And what you do is you dig a trench about 12 inches deep, 10 to 12 inches deep, depending on your soil type, and then you lay them flat on the ground and cover them with about 2 or 3 inches of soil. And then as the fronds start to, the growing point starts to grow, you backfill the trench so that you never cover that growing point, but then you've got the roots deep enough so that they should last for a good long time. Last thing that I brought along is something that we've been seeing a lot of them going out is the kids' garden tools. And, it's good to get your kids out in the garden where they've got something to do besides looking at a screen or get them outside so that they're doing more exercise. But by giving them something or buying them a few packets of seed that they can plant in the garden, things like radishes and bush beans, things that are real easy to grow, they can plant them themselves and then harvest them, and then they're more willing to eat those vegetables also. So the children's gardening is becoming quite a popular thing because you want to get those kids started with gardening. And then I also brought along a couple bags of the specialized fertilizer. We have the Jung seed jumpstart fertilizers for specific crops for onions, potatoes, raspberries, and then we have general fertilizer for gardens. And the thing you want to do is with the soil in your garden, the garden will not produce any better than the soil that you have. And so it's good to compost. Maybe one of these times we'll take a little break and talk about composting. But by composting things and adding your fertilizer to the compost pile and then putting your compost on the garden, you're fertilizing it and improving the soil texture at the same time. So, but there are fertilizers that you can use, like on the onions especially, that have a very small root system. They do like to be fertilized 2 or 3 times a year, and you got to make sure that you keep the weeds out because the weeds will compete with the onions and the different crops and kind of overtake you because they've been there for a long time. They're native. They're they grow there easily, and really, if you've been gardening in the same area for a while and you keep the weeds down for 3 or 4 years, you'll have less and less weeds to deal with as you're gardening. So it's a good idea. The other thing too is to keep a good notebook on the varieties that you use, things that perform well and the things that don't when you start your seeds and when you plant them. If they're too big, you want to start them a little later. If they're too small, you can start them a little bit earlier. But those are a few of the things that can give you a great garden. I also wanted to talk a little bit about bare root. Our bare root room is open now. We have a very good selection of things right now, but the depth of the amount of things that we have for our bare root is kind of limited. If you were ordering from the catalog, we'd already be sold out of almost all of the fruit trees and raspberries and some of those things. So we have them available in the garden center. We set aside a certain amount of inventory for the garden centers, and they have them. So the quicker you get in to purchase your bare root, the better. And you can keep the bare root for maybe 2.5 weeks. We wrap it up in a plastic-coated paper, and if you keep it in your garage, if your garage isn't heated, just putting a quart or some water in that packing material 2 or 3 times a week will keep it in good shape. And then 24 hours before you plant that bare root, you put it in a pail of water with root stimulator in it. And then with the soil itself, you want to mix compost or peat moss along with a new product that we got called Mike, M-I-K-E. I think it's Mike. And that's the mycorrhiza fungi. They have spores of that fungi, and those are microorganisms that create symbiotic relationship with the root system. So it's like in the forest floor, you've got these mycorrhizas that help the trees and things grow. So got a good supply of things, a lot of things to talk about. Our employees at the garden center can talk gardening, and if you have a problem or something like that, bring it along, and we'll try to find something for you to make your plants better.
All right. Should mention 885-4446 is the number to call if you have a question for the garden doctor today. And we have both phones lighting up. So let's go to our first caller. You're on the air with the garden doctor.
Good morning. Gotta just make a compliment. Now, no questions really. But I've been using that jumpstart stuff on the asparagus. And it really, really works good.
Yeah, different plants require different amounts of nutrients and things like that. The asparagus and your lawn grass love a lot of nitrogen because those plants you're either mowing all the time or you're eating the vegetative part of the plant. And the more nutrients, the more it grows, the better off you are. Where with onions, you don't want to have quite as much of the nitrogen in. You want to have some of it in so that the plant grows. But if you put too much on, you get all top growth. And the onions will be smaller. So those fertilizers, those jumpstart fertilizers that we have, are formulated for the vegetable that's on the package. So
yeah, I've used the ones, even the jump starts on the onions and strawberries, corn, and the asparagus, and they all really produce well.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm the one who started all those asparagus seed I was talking about a couple weeks ago. I think I got 75 asparagus plants coming up.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, the asparagus seed, that's how we get our asparagus roots. Asparagus comes from seed, and it's got a very hard seed coat. So to get it started, you've got to either soak it in warm water. What I've done in the past with some of the things that I pre-germinate is I put it in the sink and then I let the hot water just drip into it, and that keeps the water warm until morning. And you'd be surprised how fast those seeds start to swell in warm water. And once they start to swell, you get them into that starting soil, and away they go.
Yep, and I've been using the jumpstart on them too, but it's a really mild solution now.
You don't want to overstimulate small plants like that.
Right, but just a little bit in there, and they're doing very well.
Well, very good.
Your jumpstart stuff is awesome.
Yeah, thank you for the compliment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Makes me want to have asparagus if I didn't dislike it so much.
One of the things that I'm trying this year with asparagus is rather than starting it in the garden, what I'm doing, of course, I've got greenhouse space that I can do, but I put the asparagus roots in large pots, and I'm going to let it come up, and maybe in mid-June, once it's established in the pots, I'm going to take it and then put it in the garden. It'll have the long sprouts on it, so I can just dig down the foot and put that plug in there and see how that works. So there's all sorts of different things you can do with gardening. I mean, even with the onions, if you want to pre-start them, you can start them in flats and then plant them out once the danger of, actually, you don't even have to wait until the danger of frost is gone with onions because they're hardy. But there are lots of different things you can do with a garden that keep you stimulated, and you find new methods of doing things. And we have people that come into the garden center and they teach the garden doctor different things.
Well, we do have two more callers checking in here. Let's go to the phones. You're on the air with Dick Zondag from Jung Garden Center.
Is that me?
That is you.
Okay, we have a large silver maple tree in the backyard.
Okay.
And we think it was planted in 1958. That's when the house was built.
Okay.
So it's about 3 feet in diameter, and the bark is real coarse and loose looking. It's probably the type of tree that it is, and it looks like you could yank some of it off, but it's still attached. Some of it does fall off occasionally. Every spring, every so often, I have to go around and pick up bark. But this year, my question is, this year, there was a lot of it on the ground. I had to rake it up. I had to pick it up and rake it up. It was all over the place. I wondered if something happened different this year. We've been at this place for 26 years, and this is the first time it's been so full around the tree.
Yeah, no, there's environmental things that can cause things to happen in plants, but silver maple, once it gets to be quite large, has exfoliating bark. It's forming more bark underneath the existing bark, and so when that bark that's underneath the existing bark grows in size, it kind of pushes the old bark off, and it sloughs off, and it's one of the reasons that I tell people when I'm out in the bare root room, the only people that I recommend silver maple to are my enemies, and you're not an enemy, so I won't recommend it to you.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
It has very shallow roots and very brittle wood and exfoliating bark. I mean, there are lots of things. The only redeeming factor of a silver maple is that it grows very, very fast, and you can get a shade tree in a few years. But then come the problems. The shallow roots, you can't grow grass under it. The brittle wood in an ice storm falls off the bark now, So, there are different trees that you can plant. If you're looking for a maple, the autumn blaze maple has a little bit of silver maple blood in, but it's a hybrid between the red and the silver, and it seems to have the redeeming factors of both plants. I mean, the fast growth of the silver, but the root system is a little deeper. The so you don't get the buttress roots. The plant grows fast, but it has beautiful fall color, and it really is one of the trees that we sell a lot of this year, in the past few years.
Okay, but some like this year was so bad with the bark falling off. Did something happen in this past year?
I really don't know. It might have been that there was a lot of freezing and thawing in the wintertime that kind of sloughed that bark off. If you want to keep the tree and you want to keep it healthy, what I would do is at the drip line of the tree, get some lawn fertilizer. If you're going to fertilize your lawn, and put a little extra fertilizer around the drip line of the tree, and that will cause more growth and keep the tree in better shape.
No, you said drip line. What does that mean?
Drip line of the tree is where if the canopy of the tree, the top of the tree was an umbrella, it's where the water would fall off. That's called the drip line. Okay. And that's where most of the feeder roots are. So just around that area, put a little more fertilizer. The roots that go out to the drip line get coarse, and they can't take up the nutrients as well as they can at the drip line of the tree.
Okay, what type of fertilizer would you recommend?
Just a regular lawn fertilizer, something that has some nitrogen in it, a 10-10-10, or, there are different formulas with the lawn fertilizer.
Okay. Well, very, very good. Well, thank you for the information.
And thanks for calling.
And that's why Dick Zondag is here, to impart great information. And let's go to the other line again. 885-4446 is the number to call to get on with the Garden Doctor. Good morning. You are on the air.
Thanks. Hey, Garden Doctor, there are some redeeming qualities in them silver maples, We just got done doing maple syrup, and it is good.
Is it?
I'm calling, actually, to cut or not cut potatoes when you plant them.
That is the question.
If the potatoes are small, in fact, a lot of the potato producers are now going to the B-sized potatoes and just planting them whole.
Right.
I guess the reason that we recommend cutting them up is that, we sell them by the pound, and if you're buying 3 pounds of potatoes, you're maybe getting 10 or 12 potatoes. And if you cut them so that you have 1 or 2 eyes per piece, you're going to get more pieces out of the bag.
I see. See, we have leftovers always.
Yep. So if you want
to
plant the whole,
growing, so
if you want to plant the whole potato, that's fine too. I guess that the advantage to that is that there is none of the sweet carbohydrates that are inside the potato that are easily gobbled up by the microorganisms in the soil.
I see. And then what about size? Real small ones or bigger?
Small ones do really well.
Okay.
Yep. And the other problem with using bigger potatoes is that you're getting too many plants coming out of the ground, and they kind of become weeds to themselves.
Right.
And they won't produce as much, or they won't get as big. And so that's one of the advantages of cutting the potatoes, especially if they're big. You don't get as many sprouts coming out of the ground, and so you'll get more potatoes that way.
Very good. We'll see Good Friday what happens.
You bet.
All right. Thank you for your call. 885-4446, the number to call to get on the air with the Garden Doctor. You're listening to WBEV and Daily Dodge TV. Let's go back to the phones. You're on the air with Dick Zondag.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a question about a Christmas cactus.
Okay.
I have a Christmas cactus that blossoms on one side, and the other side has buds but never blossoms. The buds are on there for 2 months already.
Oh, that's a good question. Are they separate plants?
No, they're one plant.
That's one plant.
I got it from you.
Okay.
It's a beautiful plant. One side blossom, beautiful around Christmas time.
I guess.
And so I talked to the girls there and said, well, maybe you better turn it the other side around. So I turned it around, and they stay on. They don't fall out. They're just nice little buds.
I guess we think alike. That's what I was going to suggest, to keep turning the plant, not just now, but maybe once a week or once every other week. Just turn the plant 180 degrees, and
Okay.
You know,
I thought maybe put a little fertilizer on. I did.
You could try that also, but
And that didn't help either.
It
And
didn't.
And they stay on. They don't fall off. They don't get any bigger. They're just a little bud.
I think probably
It's just a mystery to me too.
Yeah, I think what will probably happen is they will probably drop off in a few weeks.
I mean, they've been on there almost 2 months already.
But I guess that's what I would do is keep turning the plant so that it gets the same amount of sunlight and darkness on on all sides of the plant, because that's what really causes a Christmas cactus to initiate flowers is the amount of day and night.
It gets pretty well the same sunlight on both sides.
Okay.
So, but it's just been a mystery, and I asked the girls there at work too, and they said, well, that's a big mystery too, and we never had that question. So
maybe what you ought to do is yell at the side that isn't blossoming.
I guess so, because the other one side was just beautiful at Christmas time. I mean, it's just a small plant. I just bought it a couple of years ago,
it
just amazed me. And I thought, well, maybe you had a question with something I'm doing wrong. I have no idea.
Get a scissors or something out and threaten it.
So, okay, Dick, I fertilized it about 3 weeks ago. Maybe I should fertilize it a little bit again?
Yeah, you can do it now because it is coming out of dormancy. And once the plant comes out of dormancy and wants to grow, it should have nutrients there. But that probably won't make a difference between whether it flowers or not. But what I would say is maybe in fall next year, in September, October, November, keep turning the plant every week, every other week, and see if that doesn't help.
Put it outside in the summertime?
Yeah, you can put it outside in the summer. It isn't going to bloom because the days are too long.
A big one was that the tree trunk. It was like tree trunk, so it's so old.
Yeah.
And I always put it outside under a tree.
Yeah, that's fine too. I mean, they will handle full sunlight though.
Yeah. So.
Or do the hokey pokey and turn your plant around.
Yeah, that sounds right too.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
All right, let's go to the other line, and you are on the air with the garden doctor, Dick Zondag.
Good morning.
Yeah,
Hello?
Good morning.
Good morning. You're on the air, sir.
Yes, 2 years ago, I had a huge rhubarb plant, and I talked to you, and you said take a shovel and cut that plant back, which I did. The two or three plants that I took away from the main plant, I planted them. They're growing, but they're very small.
Okay.
I've fertilized them with dry cow manure in the spring and in the fall.
Okay.
Didn't cover them, but I put a fair amount all the way around each plant, and they're just not doing anything.
I would try using a regular fertilizer, a 10-10-10, because rhubarb is a heavy feeder, and if it doesn't have enough nutrients, it won't grow. A lot of the composted cow manures and different kinds of manures, the nitrogen has been leached out, and so you look at that first number, it's quite small, and even though it does give you a little bit of fertility, what that plant needs is a little bit more nitrogen, so maybe get some garden fertilizer or something and put a little bit of that around and see if that doesn't help.
Approximately how far away from the plant? Because I don't know.
I would say maybe 6 inches.
Okay.
And just make a circle around the plant and kind of work it into the soil in the top 2 or 3 inches, and then water it in and see if that doesn't help.
I'll try that. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thanks for calling.
Thank you for your call. Let's go to the other line. You're on the air with Dick Zondag from Jung Garden Center.
Could you tell me what the expiration date is for, like, grass seed?
We have to germinate grass seed every year. But what you'll find is that if you keep grass seed in a plastic bag in a very dry condition, it should last for a long time. Grass seed does not lose its germination. I mean, if you think about it, one of the big weeds we have in our gardens is grass, and those weeds we don't plant, and yet they're still there. So there's grass seed in the ground that lay there for years and years and still come up. So there's no way to tell you what the expiration date is. If you want to see if a grass seed is still viable, what you want to do is take a paper towel and spread maybe 20 or 30 seeds on that towel, and then just wet it down and roll it up and put it in a plastic bag and put it in the warmest spot you have in your house. And in about 10 days to 2 weeks, unroll it, and you'll see whether the seed has any germination or not.
I'm going to try that because I was watching, one of the news stations on TV, and I was positive they said that grass seed has an expiration date. So I'm glad I called and asked you about that.
Well, grass seed, by law, we have to put expiration dates. A lot of the seed, all the seed packets that we sell has packed for 2022, sale by December 2022. Now, that doesn't mean that the seed is bad at the end of 2022. It just means that the government requires us to package it that way. And so with a lot of the seed, if we have it left over, we open up those packets and repack it in a seed packet that says packed for 2023, sale by December 2023.
Well, I'm certainly glad that I called and asked you, because the grass seed I have is in the house, and then I have another bag full that's in this other kind of mulching type stuff.
Sure.
That you spread out on the lawn.
Yeah, that has the paper. It's embedded in paper, and if you've kept it dry, I would imagine that those seeds are perfectly fine.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you for calling.
Bye.
Thank you, and we got a very short amount of time, about a minute. Go ahead with your call, caller.
Okay, I've got a quick question. I've got about 15 hickory trees, and I've got issues with the worms getting in the nuts and not getting much of a crop anymore. So what can I do to get these worms out of my hair?
How high are the trees?
Oh, they're big trees.
Yeah. See, the easiest way to do that is to use a dormant spray, which is oil and lime sulfur. But you have to spray the tree and the ground around the tree to kill all the insect eggs that are on the ground, because what happens is they hatch, they fly up into the tree, and when that nut is really, really soft, they just embed into the seed and they put their egg in there, and then it hatches, becomes the larvae, and then it feeds on the meat of that hickory seed. And so dormant spray, you can maybe get a hose end sprayer, one that you put on a hose, and get as high as you can with oil and lime sulfur, but that's about the only thing that I know of that you can do with mature trees.
Yeah, what is lime sulfur?
Sulfur, of course, you know what that is.
Right.
And lime, you know what that is. So it's a combination of the two in an oil spray that's emulsifiable in water. And you can put it, in a container that siphons it out as you spray it. You have to get a hose end sprayer or some way of getting it up into the tree.
Okay. So just what would be the ratio of the lime to sulfur?
I'm not sure. We have it in the garden center.
Okay. I'll stop over there and I'll see what I need.
Yeah, and emulsifiable oil is really good too. So either one.
And I can get that there also?
You bet.
Got it. Okay. Appreciate your help.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for your call. And Dick, what are the store hours?
The store hours are 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 on Saturday, and of course Randolph is not open on Sunday. In the Madison stores and the Appleton store and the Stevens Point stores, it's 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, 9 to 6 on Saturday, and 10 to 3 on Sunday.
Thanks again for the great information. We'll talk